Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the program Spot On. My name is Jacqueline Adebija, and it's a pleasure to be with you this evening. How's your day been? I hope it's been good. It's been good. All right, so let's jump right into it. The Kaduna State government this month of March 2021 released a security report, and I must say that several things stood out. Now, you do know that in 2019, the administration, of course, led by Malam Nasser Ahmed El Rufai, decided to, because of all the challenges, I guess, carve out a one-of-a-kind ministry, a type that we hadn't had in Kaduna State before, and I dare say had never been heard of in any other state, at least north of the Niger, if not the whole of Nigeria, talking about the Ministry of Internal Security and Home Affairs, led or headed by Mr. Samuel Arwan. Now, after this was set up, the government went one further and decided that they would be giving security reports. As a matter of fact, such was the detail that these security reports carried that quite a number of Nigerians, Kadunans, raised an eyebrow and asked about the use of coming out with such a detailed report. Has it worked? Is it a report that we feel has done more good than harm? Because, of course, the Nigerians, and I quote that a lot of Nigerians did raise their eyebrows to, what government hadn't done hitherto. I mean, we had always been left up to either guess or wait for international media to give us a more realistic or a believable, because of course that's another conversation entirely, but what you hear from international media, a lot of us tend to believe more than what we're hearing at home. So before 2019, a lot of things that had happened, we left them up to conjecture, just waiting to hear whose figure or whose report looked more realistic. But we started having security reports coming directly from government, and there were details. How many deaths, how many people kidnapped. As a matter of fact, if you would allow me, before I introduce my guest, I think it would help us, give us a better background to what we're talking about. If I would quickly, if you would allow me, read out what the report states, like just some in summary. Now, the report, and this report coming out in March of this year, is actually the security report of last year. What has, the data that was collected. And the report says that in 2020, we had 937 people who were killed, 1,972 were kidnapped, 7,195 animals had or have been rustled. And of the 937 people killed, Igabi local government area in the Central Senatorial District, and not Zangon Kataf or Jama local government area in the Southern Senatorial District, had suffered the highest number of casualties. Now, why this detail? Has it worked? Is it something that we feel that, the benefits of it far outweigh the disadvantages or non-benefits, if you would permit me to use that. Now, with me in the studio, I decided to bring in the common man, okay? Because it's easy to have the government come and talk about this, but let's talk to someone who is really on ground. I'm not talking about someone who spouts, rhetoric about being on ground. We're talking about somebody who really has been on ground. I'm talking about the person of Barrister Francis Koza. Barrister Francis Koza is not only a legal practitioner, he's also the Satyam Atyap of Atyap Chiefdom. He is also a founding member of the Kaduna Peace family. These people have been working, him along with quite a number of people, have been working assiduously towards ensuring that not only does Kaduna experience peace, at least within the purview of the kingdom where he holds a large role, or a very, very important role, but also that we are able to breathe, to exhale. I mean, not just security, but peace, for us to have that. And that's why I'm glad to have you, Barrister Francis Koza, in the studio this evening. Barrister Francis, it's great to have you in the studio with us. You're welcome.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Fantastic to have you here, Barrister
Thank you very
Koza.
much.
Now, it wasn't a mistake having you, because I did say I wanted somebody who wasn't just about rhetoric, but someone who really understands what is on ground, and not caring whose ox is gored, will tell it like it is. Okay, so I'm just going to, because the report, startling facts and revelations for a lot of people who have read it. And it impressed several things on me. First is that we finally have the acceptance that wrongdoing has happened on every side. There have been losses on every side of whatever divide anybody might think there is. People have lost not just people, but also material. There has been major loss on either side. Hitherto, there had been this question of, is there a genocide going on in the southern part? I want to be really particular this evening. In the southern part of Kaduna, you are from the Atiap chiefdom. You are someone who has been on ground. You've worked closely with the Agwam Atiap, I think. That's Agwatiap, yes. You've worked closely with him. And so I'm going to just go out and ask you, is this, what we're seeing in the report, this acceptance that wrongdoing happened on both sides lost majorly, is this something that is the fact, is on ground, is what people have accepted?
Yes, Jacqueline, thank you very much. Long before the report came out, we have made it categorically clear that what was on ground, it affects every aspect of life, every ethnic group, every religion, and every part of the country, of the state. We made that very clear. Specifically in Atiap chiefdom, after we had gone out to do our own investigation, to see our losses, we discovered that both Atiap, both Fulani, both Hausa suffered loss of lives, properties, and animals. And we said, we are sorry for that as a community. We tender an unreserved apology to everybody in the chiefdom and said, we have wronged each other. And let us forgive and start afresh. That was the basis. And because the basis of taking that decision was based on facts, very factual facts on ground. And people came out with different narratives, especially about the crisis either in southern Kaduna or wherever they are thinking. And the narratives was totally wrong. Wrong in the sense that a wrong impression was created that the crisis was targeted at a particular ethnic group, the crisis was targeted at a particular religion, the crisis was a jihad that people wanted to take over some land somewhere, and so on and so forth. And we said, look, gentlemen, these guys are criminals, irrespective of where they come from. Now, if you say somebody came and attacked you or attacked your brother, yes, the guy that attacked or killed your brother is a criminal, wherever he comes from. And if you, in an attempt to revenge, retaliate, attack somebody else, you are also a criminal. Because you cannot at that point in time claim self-defense. Because the guy you are attacking or you attacked did not attack you. He's an innocent bypasser. And you killed him. Either in an attempt of reprisal attacks or revenge or retaliation and so on and so forth. You are a criminal just like the guy that attacked you, your brother. So a criminal is a criminal, irrespective of whether he is Hausa, he is Fulani, he is Etiap, he is Burju, he is anybody. Once you take law into your hand and you kill somebody and you attack somebody and you maim somebody and you burn somebody's property, you are a criminal. And that is the right thing. And that's what we urge people to accept and call a spade a spade. By the time we call a spade, we'll now be able to put our energy together and then fight the common enemy, and who is the criminal.
You've been justified, that would mean, because almost to the day, last year, I do remember that finally the senator representing the Southern Kaduna senatorial district finally accepted that indeed these spates of insecurity were something that I'm talking about the person of Senator Danjumala, finally said, that these issues had a wider reach than just being particular to a certain part of the state, in this instance, Southern Kaduna. So it would seem like especially the Kaduna Peace family, because I remember that when this first happened, I'm talking about the coming together of the Peace family, a number of people said, look, only God knows what Barrister Koza has, collected from the government. Only God knows what he's been given. And you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So now, having this report come out, a lot of people have seen it. I haven't heard, voices of dissent raised to such an extent where, you really have to look at it, which is why, for me, I just had to have this conversation that, look, a report came out that not only did we have wrongdoing happen on every side, we also have people actually accepting that what the government has brought forth is actually factual. So I must ask you, how do you feel about being justified?
Well,
about this?
It's not just, I feel very elated. I feel very justified because, of course, there's no how. What we say, even in our reports, even in our communiques, in our discussions on radio, on television, we have no doubt that we are factual. We were factual. We were talking about what was on ground. And we were not partial. We see people, as God creation. I don't see people as Hausa, Fulani, Etiab, Ijo. I don't see people as Muslim, Christian, pagan. No. I see people as creator of God. And therefore, I deal with them like that. So if you are a criminal, we call you a criminal, irrespective of where you come from. Now, when you look at that report, it excites me. Excites me in the sense that the facts there, the facts contained in that report, do you know how they were gathered? First, the security agencies, the security personnel that are on ground in different localities, in different villages, compiled their own report and forwarded it to government. Secondly,
so this is security reports from the north, from the south,
everywhere.
From the central part of Kaduna.
It's not even from the region, it's from localities.
From localities,
from villages where the destruction, where the killings took place. The security men that were... Now, one good thing why I'm happy about this, when you go to every nook and cranny, especially in our area, you discover that there are police, there are soldiers in the localities, in the villages. In my village, there is a post, a village for the police, the mobile police, the soldiers, they are all there. And they go inside the interior from time to time if there's any incident. So this is a type of security arrangement that is on ground that has brought about the relative peace that we are enjoying. Now, these security agencies, security personnel, whenever there is any attack, they try their best to secure the people, and then they take data, facts, figures about the losses suffered by the people in terms of killings of life, in terms of properties being burnt, in terms of animals being rustled, and so on and so forth. And these reports they compile and forward to government. Now, secondly, the traditional institution, especially in Etiap Chiefdom, to which I belong, and I'm making it clear that we also, with the instruction of His Royal Highness Sadom Yahya de Guatiap, he instructed that every Dekechi, every village head, where there is any loss of life and property, that village head should compile the names, irrespective of tribe, irrespective of religion. Compile that name, those names, the name of the victim, whether those killed, whether those maimed, whether those wounded, the properties that were destroyed, the type of property that was destroyed. If it is a two-bedroom, if it's a single room, the animals that were wrestled. These reports are sent to him, to the Etiap Traditional Council. And the council compiled these reports and forward it to government. We have also NGOs that are working within the localities. These NGOs are always around. Once there is attack, they are always around to get information, to get data, to bring assistance to people. And they also gather their data and forward it. At the end of the day, this data, these facts form part of the government report, of the security report of 2020 as presented by the Ministry of Internal Security and Home Affairs. Jacqueline, let me tell you, I have never seen a report that is factual. I have never seen a report that is detailed as that report. And I am very proud.
I must tell you that I actually expected, I was just waiting to see if we would hear from, the likes of Sukapu or some other bodies to say, look, we do not agree with this report. But so far, there's been nothing like that. And that is why there must be some credence that must be lent to this report, that this report, by and large, actually gives a holistic and real picture of what we had in 2020, what we had happen as insecurity goes in 2020. So I must say that it is something that people like you would be happy to feel justified that this came out and finally also gave backing to what you had been saying before this report came out, that look, wrongdoing took place on both sides, everyone lost in what happened or had been happening even before now. Now, quickly, let's move on to something else for me that was startling, a revelation, if you would, and that is the location of where a lot of kidnappings, killings, rustling had happened. It wasn't in the southern part of Kaduna. It's actually been in the central part of Kaduna.
Yeah.
Say something about that.
Yes. I said it clearly, just like I said before, that if you look at what is happening in Kaduna State, there's no doubt about it. Even at the moment, you know that the crisis, the attacks, the destruction, the killings is more here in the central Senatorial district than in any other part of the state. Let me tell you, the magnitude of the attacks is so much in this part of the state, the central Senatorial district, than in any other Senatorial district in the state. And the attack is always very bloody in this part of the state, in the central Senatorial, than in any other part of the state. And so we, as citizens of this state, we as major stakeholders of this state, yes, we are not happy even if one person died. We are not happy even if one property is burned. We are not happy. But again, we must come to terms that this thing is more in the Central Senatorial District than anywhere. In fact, if you see what is happening in Birningwari, what is happening in Makrefi, what is happening in Giwa, they are so bloody. Those of us that have been that have had opportunity to go to those areas in our own attempt to make peace across the state, we pray that we never see that again in our life. It is so bad that you go to a whole village, you see corpses, you see people being killed, you see animals being killed, being wrestled, and so on and so forth.
As a matter of fact, just today, I think, or one day, I think the report came out today. I just learnt about it today that the Serki of Birningwari himself,
the Emir of Birningwari,
barely escaped with his life.
So that is the whole thing we are talking about. And so when you look at this attack, when I read the report, I was very happy because look, what the report said is that if you look at the Central Senatorial District, the report says that the destruction, the killing, the maiming, the rustling of cattle is centered on purely banditry and kidnapping. Banditry, kidnapping, and animal rustling. That is it. But when you come to the southern part, it's not just kidnapping, banditry, and animal rustling. It is also talks about reprisal attacks, retaliation, and so on and so forth. And so it comes out to show that if our people had not embarked on reprisal attack, on revenge, the crisis, the casualties would have been less in the Southern Senatorial District than in the North. Because that's the additional thing we said. And so if people come to terms and say, look, I will not take law into my hand. I will be law abiding. We will resist the criminal. We will fight the criminal. And not any other person, not a brother to the criminal, not somebody who share the criminal alleged religious belief and so on and so forth. And we said, we will just attack the criminal whenever we see him. If he comes and we see him, we defend it. But not an innocent passerby. Because that increases the number of casualties in the area, which is not tenable in the Central Senatorial District or in the Northern Senatorial District. So the issues are there that we need to come to terms with the reality on ground. And from the report, we should learn a simple lesson. Please, let us call a spade a spade. Let us not criminalize anybody because his brother, because he's kinsman, because he share the same belief with any other, but they would be a criminal. No, let us learn to be below abiding, and then call a criminal, irrespective of where he comes from. And then with that, we'll reduce the level of the casualties in our own area. And I also am very happy because, not because of anything, because I pray that those who are interested in peace, in building peace across the state, will study this report and then be able to come out with more concrete solutions to our problems. Now, like in our own area, we have identified the issues there. That look, if the people don't retaliate, if people just are law-abiding, don't take laws into your hands, the crisis, the number of casualties would have reduced greatly. And so that is the message that we should carry out, those who are interested in peace building. That's the message we should carry out to the people. And here in the North, of course, we all know that banditry, kidnapping, and so on and so on. And then the message will be here to be exposed to the people that, look, these things are evil. They are not good at all. And we call a spade, and we move on.
Calling a spade, how well has the Kaduna Peace Commission worked with the Kaduna Peace family?
These are two organs that are really working on ground. I want us to be practical, to be specific.
Are you working in silos or you're working together?
We work in silos and work together at the same time. Everybody goes about doing his own way, but at the same time we work together. Because there are some things like for instance, in my chiefdom, I always want to be practical, to tell the people what happened. The Peace Commission was on ground. And what they did, they embarked on workshop to teach our people, to train the youths on the need to be law-abiding, to be able to tell them on the need to be conscious, security conscious of the environment, and to report any likely attack before it is hatched.
Had that started bearing fruit before the Kaduna family came up?
It has. Because all these things, and when the Kaduna family came up again, they reinvigorated, they consolidated everything that has been going on. And so all of us are working together. Let me tell you, we have had a lot of training within and outside Kaduna State. About over 80 youths from Etiap Chiefdom have been taken to Jos. And they have spent almost 2 weeks there.
Just Atiap Kingdom?
Yes, Etiap Chiefdom.
Chiefdom, sorry.
Yes.
Just the Atiap.
Etiap Chiefdom.
Okay.
That's what we are talking about. I'm being specific now. Other chiefdom would have done their own. Mm-hmm. But I'm being very specific about where I concentrate my effort to be able to build up peace. We mobilized and we got this youth taken to Jos to talk about peace building mechanism, to talk about mediation, modern way of mediation, modern way of arbitration, modern way of solving crisis. And they were so happy. They were so happy. They were taken proper care of. They were so happy at the end of the workshop. And they came back home and they break into villages and they are now working on ground. And so these things are bearing fruit. And I appreciate the Peace Commission. They are doing a great work. They have been able to mobilize NGOs to come to the aid of the people. Houses are being restored now back to their shape. They have been giving people assistance, food, shelter, and so on and so forth. So people are gradually beginning to forget about what happened. And peace is fast returning, especially in my own area. I'm very excited about it.
Thank you for the enlightenment, because at some point a lot of people were wondering, okay, so we have a peace commission and here we have a Kaduna Peace family being formed. What exactly is the job of the peace commission and what is the Kaduna Peace family supposed to do?
All these things are bringing a lot of people on board. The space is so wide. The space is so wide that one person cannot do the whole work. Jacqueline, if you want to form an NGO that will come to my area and build peace process, we will be very happy. There's room for everybody to participate once you have the good intention. So the mere fact that the Peace Commission and the families there, the peace families there, they are all working together to achieve the same goal. But again, in their own special way. And this is good because the space is so wide. Nobody has exclusive knowledge to do this job alone.
Before we go on a commercial break, there's something I must ask, and that is, why particularly Southern Kaduna did we have this issue of reprisal attacks? When we're talking about societies or communities that are heterogeneous, societies or communities that have a mix of different people, I would think is all over Kaduna. Why particularly in Southern Kaduna did we have this issue of reprisal attacks? What's unique? What's different?
What is unique is that the narratives that was being chunked out during the initial stage of the crisis was what informed the reprisal attacks. The people were made to believe that they were targeted, that there was an attempt by somebody somewhere to take over their land, that there was an attempt by somebody somewhere to Islamize them, that there was an attempt by somebody somewhere. The narratives were totally wrong. And it was when we came on board and we now decide to change, we now bring in the truth position of things, that things started changing. And we now started experiencing the peace that we're having. So the narratives made the people to believe that, look, we commonly were being attacked by somebody somewhere. There's a particular attempt to just eliminate all of us, which is not true. The criminals were there. So what we're just saying is that let us identify the criminal and fight the criminal.
Well, there's a follow-up question to that. We'll have to go on this commercial break, and then when we get back, I still have more questions about that. What is that special dynamic? Why do we have that? And you've talked about narrative. We'll be talking more about that. Quickly, before we go on that break, let's have this conversation going every which way. And so if you're out there, you're listening, you want to jump in on this, you have something to say, please just send in your text messages so that I'm taking your questions as we go along. Just send your text messages to 090-7270-3270. Once again, that's 090-7270-3270. Do stay with us. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us through that commercial break. Still with you here on the program Spot On. And with me in the studio, Barrister Francis Koza, a legal practitioner, the Satyam Atyap of Atyap Chiefdom, a founding member also of the Kaduna Peace family. I did say you can jump in on this conversation. We're live on Facebook. You can jump in on the conversation if you'd like, questions, comments, you want to talk about it. You've seen the report. You want to know where to go to. If you want to have that report, you could download it. Actually, it's something that is downloadable. You could go and download it, but you want to know about that, anything, just send your text message to the number 090-7270-3270. This is so that we do not lose any time at all. You do know how the time flies. So let's take your comments as we're having this conversation. Before we went on that break, Barrister Koza, you talked about the narrative, being one of the things that changed the dynamic in southern Kaduna, because we talked about reprisal attacks being particular to the southern part of Kaduna, something that we were seeing just in the southern part of Kaduna and not in the other parts that were suffering insecurity too. And you talked about the narrative. Now, the question I want to ask about the narrative is, where is that narrative now? Where is it?
Now, the narrative has gone, because that wrong narrative has been overtaken by facts on the ground. Now, if you come and tell me that the attacks is only targeted at Christians, or the attack is only targeted at their people, or the attack is only targeted at Buju and so on and so forth people, Southern Kaduna people, and you wake up to find out that the attack is more bloody in Birnin-Gwari, where about 80-90% of the people are Muslims, and you go back and find out that in those local governments, in Makarfi and so on and so forth, you discover that the attacks are more bloody. You begin to question, what these guys have been telling also is not true. So these are the things that the facts, the happenings, the recent happenings, the happenings on ground show that the narratives was wrong, and the people are coming to terms with the stark reality that, look, these attacks, this kidnapping, this banditry, this rustling of cattle is not aimed at any particular religion, is not aimed at any particular ethnic group, is not aimed at any particular region. Is aimed at the residents of Kaduna State in general. And I said, ours is far better than what is happening in the Central Senatorial District. And so what we need to do now with this stark reality, with these facts on ground, everybody has to keep quiet, because what story do we give again? So that is why they are silent. But the issue now is not whether they are silent or they are not silent. The issue now is, let everybody come to terms with this fact, and let us put our hands together and fight the common enemy, irrespective of who he is, what religion, what name he bears, where he comes from. Once you are a criminal, we'll call you a criminal and we'll treat you as a criminal. And that is it. That is what is going to bring peace in this state permanently.
Let's move on to something that, the report talked about, the government investing in hardware, talking about, cars, talking about drones and other things that could improve the situation for us in Kaduna State. Have we seen that on ground? Because we all know that there have been times in this nation where you see things on paper and then you realize that what is on ground is a very different story. And so I'm asking, a common man asking another common man, have you seen evidence of hardware being utilized to secure the people of Kaduna State?
Simple. if you go to my village, today, you will see Operation Yaki vehicles. You will see motorcycles that are being used by these people. All these things are provided by the Kaduna State government.
They don't come from the federal?
They don't. They are provided. Especially the governor has launched several times, have launched those vehicles and shared them to security agencies in government house. We have participated in Murtala Square. We have participated in. We have seen these things being shared, vehicles being shared, and so we when you take Abuja Road, when the female soldiers were brought, they went to government house. Government house provided the basic things that they need to be able to make them work, and they are there in Abuja Road. Everybody can now move on Abuja Road freely. At times, because of the hold-ups here and there, because of police checkpoint and so on, you take you about 4 or 5 hours to get to Abuja. But today, if you are leaving Kaduna for Abuja, 2.5 hours you are in Abuja. And you see police, you see soldiers, you see male and female soldiers on the way, maintaining law and order. You see helicopters flying all over the place. Who is fueling them? It's the Kaduna State government. Helicopters flying and monitoring activities. You see, when attacks happen, you see people mobilized within a twinkle of an eye. Security are mobilized and taken to that place. The information is there. The command building is there for them. Information is being circulated by the Ministry of Internal Security and Home Affairs. All these things are capital intensive, and the government is funding it. The state government is funding it, and I know that as a fact. And so if we all join hands together with the government and maintain law and order and ensure that law and order is maintained, these security expenses will reduce, and these monies will be tailored into social infrastructural provision for all of us and for good use. So my call is simple. Security is everybody's business. Security is not just government business. Yes, government has the constitutional obligation to provide security, but at the same time, we all know that government will depend on information. The security agency will need information. So if you see something, say something. Let us support the security agencies. Let us support government, because if crises happen, if there are attacks, all of us suffer. If one person is killed, if one property is burnt, it affects all of us. If children don't go to school, it affects our future. So this insecurity is affecting every facet of our life, both economic, educational, social, and what have you. And by the time you look at the implication, the consequence of these things, you will cry that we in Kaduna we have been drawn back. We just thank this government, because despite all these challenges, we can be able to see capital projects going on. That shows the commitment of this government to enhancing the lives and well-being of our people. Ordinarily, if it were not a government that is interested, this security would have been a good excuse. You wouldn't have been seeing the construction that is going on. You wouldn't have been seeing the development that is going on now. But despite this crisis, these developments are still going on. That shows the commitment of this government to enhancing life, to protecting life and property. At the same time, they would say, we're not going to give excuse to say because of insecurity we don't build roads, because of it we don't provide this. No. Despite these things, government is still going about doing these things. I think we should appreciate this government. I think we should also put hand and support this government, because if we support them, it is going to be for our collective interest, and we're going to move forward. We're going to be better off for it.
Incidentally, you just talked about or touched on something that I wanted to talk about before we go. You know, in 2019, when the Ministry of Internal Security and Home Affairs was set up, there was a lot of talk. A lot of people were talking about, this is a white elephant. It's just, a way to secure the security votes that do not really have any, there's no budget on security votes. And so, this is going to be another white elephant. But some people have said also that, and of course, part of what was said too was, why would you put a media person to head, a security outfit? As a common man, I've heard some positive things, but I would love to hear from you. What do you think about, this innovative step that this government took? Because hitherto it was something that we'd never had. What do you mean by internal security and home affairs? But here we have it. And is it working? That's the question.
You see, it is really working. Because, when you look at the security apparatus in this country, the soldiers, the police are federal agencies. These federal agencies work in the state. They work in the local government. They work in the villages. And so there should be a connection, a linkage. Who coordinate? Because yes, there are federal agencies there, but they are serving the local people. They are serving the people in the state. And so you need a link. How will these federal agencies link up with the state government? That linkage, that gap was there until the El-Rufai government realized the need to harmonize this, to create a vehicle, a link, so that they can be able to have a linkage, they can be able to talk freely with government. And that is what has been done with the creation of the Ministry of Internal Security and Home Affairs. Now that these federal agencies now has a forum, now has a leeway, now has a place where they can go and talk, and government will listen to them, and government will also talk to them and provide their needs. And so that is why this thing is working. Now, secondly, we all know that these federal agencies are not properly funded. They are not properly equipped. When you go to the police station in the local government, you see the type of property they are living in. And most of these properties, these police stations, are being rehabilitated by either the local government or the state government. There are no vehicles. The local government provide vehicles. The state provide vehicles to enable these people work. And so you need this harmony. And that is the importance of this ministry. And that is why it is working. Because Aruang, as commissioner, is there as a policy maker. Anybody can be there. It is your ability, because generally once you are educated to a particular level, there's nowhere you cannot go. The ministry is there. There are people, there are technocrats on ground who do the work, and he decides. The policy makers, they do policy and they implement policies, and so on and so forth. So there's nobody that will claim that look, even in hospitals, if you have a ministry for health and you say a doctor is there, the doctor may either be an optician or he be that sort of a thing. So, but he also depends on other technical, the nurses, the lab technicians, and so on and so forth. The doctor who is a minister cannot, or the commissioner cannot be a lab technician. He will depend on a lab technician to conduct the tests, and he will see the result and decide. And so the commissioner for internal security, he need not be a soldier. He need not be a soldier. He need not be a security man. He can be a me and you. But your ability to harness the resources, the potentials, the technocrats in that ministry and achieve results is what is important. And that is what Samuel Aruang has done. Kudos to him.
All right. Let's see if we can just open up the phone lines to take just 2 calls, and then we'll let it go. Checking our live feed to see if there are any comments or questions there. Several things that have come out from the security report. One, that the people are largely satisfied with this report because there are no voices of dissent to this report. Secondly, that the people have finally come to agree that this matter of insecurity affects us all, and it would be to our own good to put hands on deck and ensure that we secure our lives and property. Another thing that has come out from this report is the location, the part of Kaduna that is getting the most hit by insecurity. Highlighting for us that the central part of Kaduna is actually taking more of this fire, more of the heat of insecurity than any other part of Kaduna State. And of course, talking about hardware and all other things, logistics, the efforts that this government has put into securing life and property. And so let's open up the phone lines at this time quickly and see if we can get one or two people to talk to us before we have to go. The time flies by when you're having these kind of discussions. And the lines are open. The numbers are 081 40,000 989 and 07087 800 989. Once again, that's 081 40,000 989 and 07087 800 989. Barrister Koza, what more can we do as a people? We say yes, put hands on deck. How do we put hands on deck? Because there are some people who might be listening and say, how do I ensure that we are more secure as a person? We have a call. I would like for you to hang on to that answer, and let's take this call. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, you're welcome. Quickly, you have 30 seconds because the time is gone.
Yes.
You're too close to your radio. You're too close to your radio. Yes. All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to ask your guest.
Your name?
My name is Pofa.
Sorry?
Pofa.
Pofa. Okay, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I want to ask him a question. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. We don't really have time. Go ahead.
Yes, he said that in the southern Kaduna that we should always be, seeking for peace.
Hello, Pofa.
I want to ask him.
Yes.
Who first attacked the southern Kaduna before the president? Has any southern Kaduna attacked anybody before the president? That's my question.
All right. Thank you, Pofa, for your question. Who started the reprisals? Now, I'm wondering if... Anyway, I'll allow you to answer because this is going back how many decades now? But let's hear what you have to say.
I don't know who started. But the truth of the matter is that all of us have suffered. Everybody has suffered in Southern Kaduna. Both the so-called indigenes in court and the settler in court. Everybody in Southern Kaduna have suffered one loss or the other as a result of this crisis. I don't know who started the crisis. I don't know. Because these are things that you have to find out. I don't know. I don't know who started the crisis. But the truth of the matter is that everybody has suffered one way or the other. Whether you are Kataf, whether you are Baju, whether you are Fulani, whether you are Hausa, that is fact. That fact is staring at us that it has happened. It has happened.
Okay. Still able to take one more call if we can before we go. But I did ask you that question, what more can we do? And now hearing this question from Pofa, I must say that indeed, this is a rhetorical question to Pofa, by the way. Knowing who started something, what difference does it make if we have all lost an eye? Just something for us to think about. Let's take this call. Hello, good evening. Good evening.
Hello.
Yes, please. Quickly, you have like 20 seconds. Ask your question quickly. Your name? Your name, please. Oh, unfortunately, I think we cannot hear you, and I cannot take any more calls at this time. But yes,
well, you see,
what more can we do?
What we can do, as I said, is that let us be security conscious. Wherever we are, let us be security conscious. And secondly, let us be law abiding. There is no need that my brother has been killed, that I must kill somebody. Religiously, that is not right. Even morally, that is not right. Yes, my brother has been killed. Yes, my house has been burnt. It doesn't matter that I must burn somebody else. I must live above that guy. That guy that killed my brother, I will show to him that I'm more human than him. He's an animal, he's a criminal, and I'm not a criminal. And that's why I will not attack him. And that's why I will not kill him. Or that's why I will not kill his brother. Because if he kills you and you kill him, you are all criminals. So reprisal attacks is the same thing with the criminal. whether you kill somebody as a result of a reprisal attack, or somebody you attack and kill somebody, all of you are both criminals. And we are saying that let us please abhor crime. Let us reject it. Let us all be peace abiding. Let us try our best to not to behave an eye for an eye, because if we believe an eye for an eye, all of us will be blind. And let us try to put what our belief teaches us, to learn to love, learn to forgive, learn to be your brother's keeper, and then peace will be here in Kaduna. And we pray for that. I want to say, if you see something, say something, and give suggestions, practical suggestions, lawful suggestions that will lead us out of this mess. Nobody has a solution, the exclusive solution to this problem. All of us are joint stakeholders. Let us please put heads together. Let us stop the blame game. Let us stop the blame game. Whether you attack first, or you attack second, or you attack last, or whether you attack somebody and so on. Let us forget about that. And let us talk about peace. Let us move ahead, because without peace, nobody can attain anything in life, cannot witness development. Please, let us be peace abiding. That is my call.
I'd like to thank you, the Satyam Atyap of Atyap Chiefdom, talking about Barrister Francis Koza, a legal practitioner and also a founding member of the Kaduna Peace family. Thank you so much for being here this evening. Well, here is what I know. I also called Kaduna home, and I know that without peace, indeed, none of us gets to do anything. Hate took one spark. All of this started with one spark. Pofa, you asked, how did it start? At the end of the day, if a fire catches a forest, of what use is knowing where the fire started? Bottom line is, the forest has gone up in flames. And that drop of water that will quench the fire also must start with one person.
Yes.
Will it start with you, Pofa? I hope so. Let's all remain victorious and do have a great evening. Thank you for staying with us. Until next Thursday, remain victorious.